Hello my lovelies, your friendly neighbourhood random hooker here. I thought I'd do a video, another one on HEXI cardis, because I've finished half of it, so I thought I'd go through the half the HEXI cardi that I've done already, and then I'll go through starting the next one. So this is the lovely part that I've done already. Isn't it lovely? The colours are absolutely beautiful. So with this, just as a reminder, because I mentioned it in the last video, so just in case anybody didn't watch that, to be fair, I can't remember which one I spoke about it in. So yeah, so when you fold it, so to fold it to get the L shape, it's sort of all loose and hexagonal. So what you do is you take one of the sides and you fold that in half, and then it creates the lovely L shape, like so. And all you would do then is so you'd finish it off to pretty much the size you want. For myself, because I'm quite short, I tend to stop the arms quicker than the rest of the body because I'm short and rather round. So this one is for one of my nieces, and she's lovely and tall, beautiful and tall. So what I've done with this is this is two lovely balls of wool. So I've stopped it there because the width here for across the back that I would stitch the two sides together with is about where I want it. So I've stopped there, and what I would do is I would stitch together this top side. To be fair, you can call whichever side you want the top side. So you would stitch together one of the sides so that you've got the side that you folded in half would be your armhole, and then this bit goes along the arm and up to the shoulder. Okay, so that gives you the other part of the L, which then gives you the front and the back. So as I said, on this one, it's about where I want it for the back, because the back will often be shorter, particularly if you're doing it. It can, depending how baggy you're wanting it all over. The back can often be shorter than the back, than the front, just to allow for ladies with the cleavage. Because obviously if there's more at the front, you need to make more at the front to make sure that it goes round comfortably. So that's that. And then what I would do is I just need a bit more length on the arms, because again, my niece is beautifully tall, so I would just sort of extend the arm out to the length that she needs. So that's the beautiful top there. So now what we would do to start the next one, you get your beautiful lovely new bit of wool. I did do this, show you how to do a magic ring on the beginner tutorial video that I did earlier, but I'll just show it again, just in case you haven't seen it, or you know, just so that you don't have to go back and watch it. I'll do it again here. So thumb and forefinger, so you want the tail, which is always the sort of start of the wool, that always goes closest to you when making a magic ring. You'd then use 2 fingers and you'd wrap the yarn wool round and make a cross like that. And then I just hold the working yarn, which is the one that's attached to the ball. I tend to just tuck it under my finger just to get some tension for the next part. So you've got your lovely cross here, and then what you do is you take your hook, you go under this first bit here, furthest away from you, and then you pick up this bit here that's at the top, which will be the bit that's crossed over, and then you just pull this one at the back and under that first one. I always give it a bit of a twist, just because I find it more helpful. And then you hook the then you yarn over with the working yarn, and you pull that through. Haha! Yeah, you pull that through to make a slip stitch, and that then holds the working yarn. It just holds the ring together. So when you're putting the stitches, whichever stitches you're doing, onto the magic ring, always make sure you're working the tail as well into the stitch. You'll need that later when you're closing the ring. So with the HEXI cardis, it is the same process as doing a granny square. You're just putting some extra double crochet clusters in there, just to make it a hexagon. So to a point, the start of this is the same as doing a granny square. So I then put another, for the first cluster, I put another 2 slip stitches on. So I've got a chain 3. That then becomes the first double crochet in the cluster. So it's then yarn over, go through the magic ring, pull through the working yarn, so that you've then got 3 loops on there, and then yarn over again so that you've got 4, and then you pull the working yarn over here through these 2 loops in the middle, like that, and that leaves you with 2. Sorry, camera's in the over here. Then you yarn over again, and then you pull the yarn through the last 2 there. Alright, so that gives you your second half double crochet. So yarn over into the magic ring, yarn over, pull back through, and then yarn over so that you've got the 4 stitches. Pull the working yarn through the loops in the middle, yarn over, pull the working yarn through the two in the middle, or the two loops that are left. So then you've got your first cluster of 3, and then you do a slip stitch or 1 chain, and then you do the next cluster of 3. So you only do the 3 chain stitches on the first of the round. For every other one on here, on this row, you would do a double crochet. So yarn over through the magic ring, yarn over and pull through, yarn over. Right, so you've got the 4. Yarn over, through the ring, pull through, pull through. Oh. There you go, so there's the second one. So with so if you were doing a granny square, you'd put 4 on there and then close the loop, the magic ring, and then you'd do the next round, but for a hexagon you'd put 6 on there. So I will be right back. I will just get on to finish these and then I'll be right back. Hello, so I'm back. So I now have 6 clusters on here. It's a bit hard to tell, especially with this wool, but it's 1, there's 6 on there. So what you then do, and this is why I said make sure that you've worked over the working yarn, what you do is then pull the magic ring closed. So you just pull on that working yarn, like so, and it just closes it up, like so. Looks like a bit of a flower. So what you then do is you do that 1 chain stitch, and then in that first chain 3 that you did here, you just go into the top of that, and you'd do a slip stitch, which is just pull the yarn through, and then pull it through that first hook, and then that joins it nicely there. There you go. So what you would do now is you'd do your chain 3, and then you'd do 2 more double crochets into that gap there, chain 1, and then you'd go into the next gap there and do another another double crochet cluster of 3, and then chain 1, and then you'd do a second cluster of 3 into that same space. Like so, and you've made your first corner. So this would be the same if you were doing a granny square. You'd just make less corners. Yeah, you just make less corners because you have less gaps to put them in. So you then chain 1, go into the next gap and do a cluster of 3, chain 1, and then back into the same gap, and then chain 1 into the next one, after a cluster of 3 double crochets, and then just carry on until you've done your 6 corners. Sorry about the dead space. I really need to get better at the chatting while I'm doing it thing. There you go. So at the moment we've got 5 corners, but you're back to this first one where you just had the one cluster of 3. So what you'd do then is you'll chain 1 and then go into that gap there with the first one that you did and do another cluster of 3. And then chain 1, and then you'd go again into the first chain 3 that you did and just do a slip stitch into the top of that, just to close off that round. There you go. So you've got your 6 corners. So what you do on the neck. So if you were doing a granny square, you would just have the you'd just have the four corners, and it'd be a lovely square. But with this, as you can see, it's turning into a bit of a hexagon. It will come out quite wobbly because it's trying to go into the L shape. So don't panic if you're doing the HEXI cardi, if it starts getting wobbly. That's absolutely fine. That's what it's supposed to do. So the next round, and this is the round that you would continue for the rest of the HEXI cardi, and it would be the same size until you get it to the size that you wanted. So 3 chain stitches, and then you'd put another 2 double crochets into that space, and then a chain. So you'll notice that you've now got 1 space there. With that, all you would do is put a cluster of 3 into that space, like so, and then you'd move on to the corner, and you'd do your cluster of 3, your chain stitch, and then a second cluster of 3 to make the corner. There you go, and then you do your chain 1, and then you'd go into that space there and just do, again, that one you just do a single cluster of 3, chain 1, and then go into the corner and do a cluster of 3, a chain stitch, and then another cluster of 3. There you go. So as you can see on these 2 sides now, you've got 2 spaces away from the corners. So you would just put a single cluster of 3 into this straight part, and you would do a cluster, chain 1, and then a cluster into the corners. So when you get it this large, as it gets bigger, you'll get more and more of these spaces where you just put the 1 cluster into, and then you do your clusters at the end. So yeah, so I will leave it there. If anybody's got any questions, please let me know, and I hope this video has been useful. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.